Anthony Richardson, Brady, we'll get your thoughts here first because Rick and I have talked to Anthony Richardson to death. I'll just say this. When he walked on set last week, he was taller and thicker than Will Anderson. He had 11-inch hands when it was all said and done. A shade under 6'4", 244, ran a 4.43. And he told us straight up, he said, listen, I was always the biggest and the fastest kid on the field. No surprise there. And I was doing too much hero ball last year. And that's why things went sideways at times. And I have to figure out, and you're a proponent of this, and Pete Prisco is in general too. He said, I want to play on day one, but I understand if that's not in my best interest. Where are you on Anthony Richardson, super freak?
Yeah, I think he could end up being the best player in this draft class at the quarterback spot. He has that sort of potential. His ceiling is higher than anyone else, but his floor is probably as low as anyone's, right? So there's that sort of potential for that sort of play. I think he's got a raw skill set. At times he flashes where you really see him put it together. The Tennessee game in particular, there's a few throws where he had to manipulate the pocket and deliver some strikes, and he did that. You obviously the arm strength, the athleticism, we kind of knew that going into the combine. Like that event was built for Anthony Richardson to go out and show out. But then you start to see some of the missed throws that he made on some of the intermediate routes, whether it's the outs to his left or some of the other throws throughout the combine. And you're saying, okay, he hasn't thrown to these guys before. But at the same time, you're seeing some of these other guys like CJ Stroud, who hasn't thrown to these guys either, and they're completing passes to him. So it's, again, he's raw. That's the bottom line. My comp for him is Josh Allen. Josh Allen, 6'4 plus, about 237 when he came out in the combine. Anthony Richardson, 6'4, 244. You look at them athletically, they both are freak athletes for that size. Strongest arm in the draft class, in my opinion. Josh Allen had the strongest in his. Both guys sub 60% completion percentage and very raw when you watch them on tape. But I think they're skills that you can work with. So, is it in his best interest to sit and watch for a year? Maybe. I sometimes feel like that's overrated because, a quarterback plays a game where you need experience, you need reps. And the only real reps you can give someone to help them truly improve is those live game reps. And so you got to build an offense and a system around that allows them to be successful. I think you can do that. But I think more than anything else, if you're going to play him, you got to be patient with him. And so it might look ugly in the beginning, but I think he's the type of player, he'll get better the more reps he gets.
Rick, let me ask you some follow-ups to what Brady just said here. You guys do a whole core of testing beyond just how fast you run and how high you jump. And you've talked in the past about how important it is to differentiate between a smart quarterback and a quarterback who processes quickly. Is there a test to figure out whether Anthony Richardson, how soon he should be on the field other than the eyeball test, number one? And number two, if your owner loves Will Levis more than Anthony Richardson, but you and the scouting department talk him into Anthony Richardson, do you have the understanding that you're going to have a 2-year leash, or is this a thing where you might have to have a visit into the office after week 6 and you lost 45-0 because the quarterback threw 4 interceptions?
Oh, boy. I will just say this. When he walked on our stage, I thought Brady Quinn was very impressive and intimidating, and coming up there the way he walked on when he had his shirt off at the combine when he came out. This guy made Brady Quinn look small. So, but my biggest problem with him, I recognize everything that everybody's been saying. This is a kid out of anyone that I want to know how he processes and how he can get through his progressions. Because when I watch tape and a guy with this freak athletic ability, if his number one option is not open, then he's relying on making a play with his feet or doing something crazy. Can he become more patient, sitting in a pocket, letting some things develop, and reading and getting through his progression? So you try to come up with tests that kind of try to indicate that. I don't know if it's ever going to be a surefire thing, because if it was, there'd be a guy making $1 million here if they came up with an answer to the burning bush question, as they like to say, trying to figure out these quarterbacks.
Hey, Rick, let me interrupt you quickly. Did you guys use virtual reality sometimes to simulate pre-snap, post-snap, or no?
Did you guys have virtual reality?
Huh?
Did you guys have virtual reality stuff?
No, he was in the league last year.
I know. I'm just saying, like, I don't know how much they'd use it for the combine stuff.
Fired 10 years ago. I actually did do some. let the body get cold first before you.
No, I just meant like I don't recall that being a part of like any part of the process at the combine. At least we didn't talk about it.
Sorry, Brady, not at the combine. Once you get into the building, then
got you.
Yeah. No, that's a fair question.
We actually worked with a company that filmed all our practices with a 360-degree camera right behind the quarterback at the quarterback eye level. So you can actually put on the virtual reality glasses and watch his head movement, and it moves on the screen. So the coach is asking, why are you looking here and not here?
Nice.
I think it's going to
Striver?
Huh?
Was it Striver? Is that who you guys used?
Yeah. So they kind of continued to evolve, and I worked a lot with that group because we were always trying to find the answer to that test. But I think in a nutshell, I know we got to get moving here, is that Anthony Richardson, I agree, may be the highest ceiling, but maybe fall the farthest. So he's a typical boom or bust out of all these quarterbacks.
All right, Rick, let me ask you, because Debo wants answers. Teams that need a quarterback in the first round: the Texans at 2, the Colts at 4, the Raiders at 7, the Panthers at 9, the Jets are at 13. We can include Washington in there if we want to. The Jets may get Aaron Rodgers. We'll see. Tampa Bay, and then Baltimore if this Lamar thing doesn't work out. What is the best fit from day one for Anthony Richardson?
I would say if he can go to a place where there is a veteran in place, and I still think for me, it's the Carolina Panthers because they still have Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold came back last year after he was benched. He was functioning as maybe the best quarterback they had on the roster because Baker Mayfield had struggled. But I think if Sam Darnold can hold the fort down until Anthony Richardson is ready, that would be the best scenario in my opinion.
What do you think, Brady? Do you think it's the best landing spot? Rick didn't like me having the mock draft where Anthony ended up with the Raiders and Josh McDaniels just because of the complicated offense and how that may not work out for him in the near term.
By the way, I think Sam Darnold might be a free agent. So I'm not even sure he's under contract right now. So they would have to bring back Darnold, which maybe he'd be willing to do so. This one's going to be interesting. Seattle. You know, you might be calling it a premium then for what you just signed Geno Smith to, but, that might be an interesting spot. Go put him behind a guy who just really plays some great football. He's played and learned a lot over the years. That'd be a good system, good guy to sit behind. And I think we've seen them have success too with Russell Wilson early on in his career as he continued to develop into more of a pocket passer during the end of his time with the Seattle Seahawks. So Seattle will be an interesting one. I think they've obviously got the draft capital to do it. I think they pick at 5 and 20. Is that right?
Yeah,
I think you're right there.
So maybe they don't go there at 5. John Snyder, Rick, he either wants to trade back out of it just to get more picks.
Yeah. I'm going to. I mean, that would be an ideal scenario because Seattle. We talked about it last night. Likes to celebrate players. What do they call it? We celebrate their uniqueness. Mm-hmm. So because they have taken some projects and some guys with some off-field issues at times, and Pete Carroll and John Schneider have a great program in place to handle that and to keep them on track. And that would be, to me, that would be a great scenario. But I'm going to ask you this question, Brady, is that they're at 5, they can't move out. Okay. And we talked about this last night. Jalen Carter falls down to them. There's no way, knowing their history, or let's say he doesn't fall, and Ryan Wilson's twin brother, Tyree Wilson, who Ryan claimed is mother from another brother. But him and his long lost twin, Tyree Wilson, would you go Anthony Richardson there, or would you go Tyree Wilson there, the pass rusher?
Yeah, I think you go best player available. I mean, that's kind of been Pete and John's MO, right? They go defense. Like, that's just what they do. So, I mean, it's not necessarily what I would do in that case if I really was in love with the idea of Anthony Richardson sitting for a year and being our guy. But I think they go defense there, and then they hope that Richardson falls them at 20, or maybe they would make a move to move up somewhere from 20 to go get him. As again, we know the Seahawks like to move around a decent amount. So That might be an ideal scenario, but for Anthony Richardson to be able to sit and watch after the year Gino had the contract he signed, they're tied to him at least for a year, if not two. So it gives Richardson a little time to develop.
Rick, 20-second answer, and then we'll go to break and get these top two quarterbacks. Let's say you're at 5. You plan on taking Anthony Richardson. You're the GM. Are you calling Gino? Are you worried he's going to be upset after signing the new deal, or you don't care?
Yeah. I mean, even I think that it's a call that needs to be made, just so they're not rocked off their. We just signed you to a contract. You're our guy, but just understand we want to make sure that we're grooming a young guy behind you as well. But I think that's the first class way to handle the situation, and first class way an organization can give a quarterback a heads up that, hey, we're going to draft this guy here at 5, but I wanted you to be in the loop that what we're going to do. So when the media calls you 5 minutes later and asking you all X, Y, and Z, you're prepared for this.
What if he or his agent are very, very angry about that? What do you do then?
I don't think they're going to be very angry about knowing Geno Smith. And we talked about adversity and all the adversity he's been through. I think he's happy that he finally got a payday, even though it's a 3-year deal. And then if you're a competitor, bring him in. I'd love to tutor him, but he's not going to take my job. I know that for a fact.